Hey, welcome back to another episode of LLC with me, David Wintzer. You know the deal. Gosh, it's another beautiful day. It really is a beautiful day. It's about 6 a.m. right now. I actually don't even know what kind of day it is. It is just dark and can't see yet, but that's all right. We're here to record a podcast for you guys because we're here to learn. We're here to grow. We're here to get better. We're here to do what we know how to do, and that's learn from our mistakes. That's learn the lessons and have some conversations about them because, as you know, that's the way to growth. One of the growth things I had to learn today was that Tiger Woods is not going to be on today's show. My apologies. Tiger Woods is not going to be on today's show. He got booked. He got busy. I mean, he's the GOAT. He's the number one golfer of all time. And so, of course, he's going to be busy. It's going to be tough to align those schedules, but we got him coming, so you got to make sure you stay tuned. If you haven't already, please rate and review this, like, subscribe, share this with someone. Give me some kind of love and feedback in that. That's all I'm trying to do is just grow this thing organically. It'd mean a lot if you gave me just a review because that's how I'm trying to grow this thing. So I've been around business a lot. I've done lots of jobs, but the main job that I've done in my life is I worked in restaurants for 20, 25 years. I worked at a golf course for 20 years. So those are the two jobs that I worked in my entire adolescence growing up. I probably started the golf course at 14. I started waiting tables or bussing tables at like 13. And I've just grown up in these industries for a really long time. It's by my nature that I'm always watching how businesses work. I'm always watching the inner workings of a business and seeing what these companies are doing what's going well. When I go into a restaurant to eat, I take notice to the restaurants in our town that are doing really well. They have great reviews. They're constantly busy. And I'm wondering why that is. And I start seeing the patterns. I start seeing what they're doing as a business that allows them to be one of the best in our town and continually having, people coming in the door, wait list, good food, consistency, good reviews. And when you sign that check, you had a great experience. So I've watched what it takes to have a successful restaurant, and I've watched what it takes to have a shitty restaurant. I've worked at restaurants that have been around for 40 years. There's a reason you've been in business for 40 years. You have a 96% chance of failing in business. 96% chance of failing in business in 10 years. There's a 4% success rate. So if you've been around for 40 years, my God, you're doing something right. I've worked at the number one restaurant in the state of Utah, the restaurant that is just pumping out turnover after turnover after turnover. I mean, constantly doing 400 meals a night. And that's a lot of people. And to get that consistent of Yelp reviews, TripAdvisors, their Forbes 5-star, 4-star reviews, it takes a lot of work. That's a well-oiled machine. And I've taken notice to how these things work. Like I said, it's my nature about curiosity in the business, analyzing what it takes to get better, thinking about the efficiency and what could be done better, what could be done differently. So that being said, I'm going to kind of walk through in today's episode what I would do if I was going to start a successful restaurant, what I would do if I was going to start a successful business, because I like to break down just for my own enjoyment, if nothing else, I like to break down what it takes to do this, because at the end of the day, businesses are all the same, but what makes different businesses work? And one thing I learned from a mentor of mine that's done some incredible things in their business career was the fundamentals of business do not change. The basics of business do not change. It doesn't matter what kind of business, what kind of market, what kind of everything, marketing strategies, hiring strategies, the directions you're going to go strategies. All those things differ from business to business, industry to industry. But the basics, the fundamentals of business do not change. You don't mess up with the basics of business. So if I was going to open a restaurant, so basically I'm going to walk you through this episode, how to open a successful restaurant in my eyes, what I would do if I was going to do it. And for me, number one would be customer experience. Customer service is the number one thing I would train my entire staff on. Day one, when we're about to do the grand opening of this restaurant, I would say, hey, listen up, motherfuckers. This is what we're doing. We are going to be the best customer service business in this town. Someone wants something, they need something, you're going to be there greeting them. They're going to get water in 2 seconds. If they ask you for something else, you're going to be right on it. And I know you would say food should be number one. It has to be good food. I agree that good food is huge when it comes to a restaurant. But in my opinion, you can get away with slightly less quality food if you have impeccable service. If people's experience is incredible, if your food is an A minus, a B plus versus an A plus, people are going to remember that more if they had a good experience versus the other way around. Your food is an A plus. It's the best food they've ever had in their entire life. But it took an hour to get the meal. They never got the refills on their drinks. No one ever greeted them. When they wanted to get out of there and get the check, the server was nowhere to be found. That stuff's frustrating. That, in my experience, from waiting tables, bartending, watching the customer interaction, that stuff, the bad service trumps the good food. So food is important, but the service and experience matter just as much, if not more. So I would create a system with my team of consistency and exceptional experience every time. One of the ways you do this, in my opinion, because I've worked at restaurants that do this and don't do this, is you pool the tips. Everybody in the restaurant gets the tips and then you disperse them equally. Now, where some people would argue with this is if someone's not pulling their weight, it's not fair that they're getting a portion of my tips. That is valid. That's where you have to hire and fire people as needed. Because if someone is slacking off, they're going out taking cigarette breaks, they're not doing their side work, they're not busting tables, but they're getting a portion of everyone's tips. That's not fair. That breeds animosity. That breeds bitterness. And the team's not happy. So you got to get rid of those people. You need A players, people that are going to buy into the system. Because here's the difference when you pool tips and when you don't pool tips. When you don't pool tips, and I'm running around, I'm busy as shit, and you're running around, you're busy as shit, and you're like, hey, David, I'm slammed. Can you go get a refill of Coke for table 2, that kid over there at table 2? I'm just dying over here. If I'm taking care of my tables, because I have 5 tables, and I get 100% of tips on those 5 tables, that's all I get. That's my money. Because in service business, you don't make an hourly wage. You make an hourly wage of like $3 an hour. Your money comes from the tips. So if I have those 5 tables, I have to give those 5 tables impeccable service because those 5 tables are 100% of my tips. Versus you got 50 tables in the restaurant and I got a portion of all those tables. So now when Sarah needs a refill of Coca-Cola for that kid on table 2, I'm going to go help her out. Because I know that kid getting that Coke is an experience for the parents because the kid's not going to get angry. He's not going to get upset. He's not going to, have a little meltdown because he got the Coke refill that he wanted. So I'm going to go help Sarah out if I have a minute. So now that table's happy. And I'm going to do that because Sarah's table's happiness is a reflection of my tips as well. Versus the other way around. I'm only going to think about myself because, sorry, Sarah, why would I help you out? That's going to get you a better tip and more money in your pocket. That doesn't benefit me at all. Sorry, I got my own shit to deal with. So I'd pool the tips. You got to make sure that you have A players and you got to fire the players that aren't on board because that's where you breed bitterness within the team. So everyone's motivated to help every single person. It's not the not my table mentality. The environment becomes a collective effort, not an individual battle. Attention to small details is what elevates the service throughout. So I would have people dedicated to individual roles. So if you're a busser, your role is you got to make sure that water is full. That's the number one rule. If you're a busser, the number one rule is that water is full, no matter what. If someone's out of water, you get them water, period. When they're done with their food, you clear their table. People don't want stuff sitting around the table. You scrape off the crumbs on the table. You wipe up the ketchup spills. And then lastly, the instant response to questions. When you're slammed, this is the worst thing that happens in a restaurant. When you're you deliver people's food, you take their and you just you can't even breathe. You're in the weeds. You're just swimming in the deep end. You're just coming up for air barely. And you get to a table and you go, how's it going? Oh, can we get a side of ketchup, a refill here, 2 more of these drinks, and some bread? The things you can get immediately, you get immediately. If you set someone's food down and you go, can I get you something? Yeah, can I get some salt? Can I get some ketchup? Imagine when you get a burger and you want to, put some mayo with your ketchup or, you're looking for extra mustard. And the way you like your burger is with extra mustard. And you ask the server, can I get some extra mustard? And everybody's eating their food around you. The whole table's got their food and you're waiting for the extra mustard. You're waiting for the extra mustard. You're waiting for the extra mustard. And finally you're like, fuck it. I'm just going to eat the burger. And when they forget the mustard, you're like, and we've all had that happen. That sucks. You're pissed. Or when they bring the mustard over and you're already halfway through the burger, you're like, well, dude, that defeated the purpose. Like, I wanted the mustard to experience the whole thing at once. That's not a good customer experience. So the things that are immediate, that they need for their food, that they need to enjoy that meal, the extra ketchup, the salt, the dipping sauce, the side of dressing, the whatever, that stuff is immediate. If there's an immediate response to that, that is a customer service above all else. They don't have to wait for anything, especially when it comes to kids. When kids want something, you get them something that minute, because kids have a tendency to have meltdowns. Kids have a tendency to make the dinner experience different for the parents. When they're hangry, when they're upset, when they don't want to be there. They don't want to be at this fancy restaurant with mom and dad and their friends, but the mom and dad couldn't find a babysitter. So they got the iPad, but the kid wants their dessert. They want this. You get that kid stuff happy. You get that kid stuff so they can be happy immediately. When I would sit down with the table and I was busy and they'd have kids, I'd say, hey guys, I'm extremely busy. Can I get the kids something right now to get them started so we can keep the kids happy? That immediately breeds like a relief in the parent. Oh my God, yes, they just want some buttered noodles and a Coke. Thank you so much. Now they trust you. So immediately you're giving good customer service. Customer service is king when it comes to starting a restaurant. So if I was going to start a restaurant, my number one would be with the staff. These are the 10 non-negotiables. These are the things you have to do. This is how we're going to breed a culture of customer experience. This is how we're going to win. Secondly, obviously the food. Food must be consistent. So you have to have a chef that understands consistency. The way the dishes come out has to be the same every time. There can be no variation, because if I get a dish, some chicken parm, if I get a burger, if I get some salmon salad, fish tacos, and I had them last time and they were the best I've ever had, and then I come back the next time and they're not as good as last time. The presentation's different. It's just more dressing, more this, more that. Now I'm questioning this restaurant. We've all had that. Oh, it's the best burger I've ever had. And you go back and it's not the same. And you're like, maybe I don't want to come back here. Now it's a little dicey. I'll come back a third time, but that third time is going to dictate the rest of your experience. Is it going to be like the first time or the second time? And if it's like the second time, you're not coming back. That restaurant has lost your trust. So you have to have the same quality, the same plating, the same taste every single time. Guests return because they trust what they're getting in food. But they also return because they know that you got banger customer experience. They know that they're going to get sat. They're going to get their coffee on time. They're going to get their drinks on time. They're going to get their extra ketchup. Their kids are going to get taken care of. It's a good environment. Restaurant success is key when it comes to food, customer experience. The restaurants that succeed don't just have great food. They have reliably great food. There's a big difference, because you can have great food sometimes, and no one wants to go to a restaurant where it's hit or miss. We've all been there. Yeah, I don't know, man. Sometimes I go there and they like overdress their salad and it's like soggy. Sometimes I go there and it's like not enough dressing. It's dry. Like, there needs to be a specific thing in the kitchen. Hey, when you put dressing in, it is 3 tablespoons. You have to measure it out and put it in there. You dress the salad. The salad is the same consistency every single time. That goes for every single dish on your menu. That's how you breed repeat business in a restaurant. I've watched people do this. I've watched them do it one way. I've watched them do it the other way. The restaurants that I worked at that were always busy, that were always successful, that were pulling in millions and millions and millions of dollars a year, that were around for 30, 40 years, were doing these things. I watched it from behind the scenes. I was part of the team. I had to go through the training processes. I had to take the test. I had to do the things that were required to keep your job at these restaurants. This is how a good restaurant runs. And then lastly, the environment. This is kind of like the invisible X factor. No one really understands how much an environment can breed a restaurant. Unless you're like in tune with that, and you really understand decor and, space and flow, you're not going to pay attention to that. It's going to be the invisible X factor that you're like, yeah, I don't know why I love that restaurant, but man, Like acoustics are a big thing. Believe it or not, like, a lot of people I go out to dinner with now, like they're older. They're 65 plus. And acoustics are a big thing. When you've been in a restaurant when it's so loud, and there's certain restaurants that are just so loud, they're brick walls or something, and it sounds just bouncing off, the acoustics are just brutal. And when it gets loud, you can only hear the person next to you. You can only hear the person like right across the table from you. So you can't have a conversation with the group. And I've been with individuals that, like older people, this is frustrating for them. They don't like going to that restaurant because they can't hear. I know that sounds silly, but acoustic tiles, the way the walls are, those are things that, you can do simply with like a little sound machine to see how the acoustics are bouncing off the walls. That's an invisible X factor that no one will ever think about, but it makes a difference. The dining experience isn't just about the food. It's not about the service. It's about how people feel. And when you feel good, you tend to come back to a place. And sometimes you don't even know why you feel good. You don't even know why. The lighting, it creates an ambiance, the natural light, the dim light, the music. I mean, what kind of music are they playing? Is it a good vibe? Is it chill? Is it live music? What kind of things are going on musically that sets the mood? Not too loud, not too soft. There's so many factors that you don't even recognize because you're just there having a good time with your friends. You're engaged in the moment. You're out having dinner with people. These are the things that they add up, and you don't necessarily know why. Like I said, this is the invisible X factor. But you got to take notice to how the restaurant functions. How clean are the bathrooms? Oh my God, I made an episode about this. I went to a restaurant in Park City. It was just a simple little lunch place, and I went in that bathroom, and it was so fucking gross. I'll never come back. I will not come back. If that's how dirty your bathrooms are, if your employees are going in that bathroom and they're using that, and then like you could tell people, the sinks were gross. I was like, man, if that's what your bathroom looks like, that all your customers are using, I can't even imagine what the kitchen looks like. Because I've worked in restaurants where the kitchen is disgusting. And I'm telling you, you don't want to go into those kitchens. You don't want to eat food from those restaurants. But out in the main space, it looks pretty good. You never know. So how clean are the bathrooms? That's a customer experience thing. That's silly, but you got to keep your bathrooms clean. I made an episode about that. That's the metaphor for how clean is your business. Are your books clean? Are you bidding your jobs? Are you doing things? How clean are your bathrooms? It's a small but powerful trust factor, believe me. And then the layout and the seating, this is the comfort for the guests. People don't want to feel crammed and uncomfortable. They don't want to feel like they're 2 inches from another table that can hear them. If they're having an intimate date, if they're having a business conversation. The best restaurants have a vibe, an intentional designed experience. That vibe, it comes and goes. You don't even notice it. It's there. It's something that you're not even thinking about, but it makes the difference. The invisible X factor. And you do that by bringing people in. You do a bunch of soft launches. You get a full house, friends, and you say, hey, I need your brutal honesty. How was the food? How was the service? But most of all, how was the dining experience? Were the bathrooms clean? Like you play a bunch of music, you get everyone laughing, you start telling jokes, like see how the acoustics are working. The secret sauce. It's your culture. It's the accountability. Success is built on consistency and team culture, plain and simple. In any business, consistency and team culture are huge. You have to set the clear rules and expectations for the team up front. This is how we operate. This is what we do. This is your side work. This is your setup work. This is your breakdown work. This is what happens when a customer comes in. You fill their water within 2 minutes. You keep their water full. You get them the ketchup right away. You service the kids immediately. You get the drinks. Drinks are huge. You get them their drinks right away. When they come in, can I get you a drink order? You get them their drinks early because when people have drinks, they're happy. So if people are like, sit down, they're like, they've been working all day. They just need a cocktail. They just want a soda, whatever it is. And you get them that immediately. Then you can abandon them for a second potentially because you're busy. You're like, all right, guys, let me get you your drinks. Why don't you look over the menu? I'll be back. As long as they have their drinks, they're happy. So you set clear rules and expectations with your staff. These are the 5 things we do when someone shows up. Immediately, this is what we do. There's no room for slackers because we're pooling tips. Everybody in this restaurant is a team member. Teamwork only works if everyone pulls their weight. If you're not pulling your weight, you're not doing all these things we laid out, you're going to be gone. We're not going to pool tips with you. We're not going to share tips with you. We're not going to share the pot that everyone's working so hard for if you're not a team player. So you set the rules, the expectations early and up front with your team. That builds trust among the staff. If I'm working hard and Phil isn't, Phil's got to go. Sorry, Phil. Love you, buddy. It's time to go. Then there's no resentment, no toxicity, just the standard that must be met. And if you don't meet that standard, you're bringing everyone down, including the reputation of this restaurant. This level of discipline and expectation is what separates the good restaurants from the great restaurants. This is how you build culture. The restaurants that I worked at that really succeeded, that really did a good job, they followed these principles to the T. If I were to open my own restaurant, this is exactly how I would structure it. Consistency breeds success. Service, food, environment, and team culture must all align. Simple as that. This is the same with your construction business. This is the same with any one of your businesses. Your customer experience should be number one. Yes, you want to build a quality home. You want to focus on that. But I'm telling you, if you build the most pristine house, every single detail is perfect. Every mitered edge is just beautiful. Every wall is dead straight. Every reveal is perfect. Every tile joint is dead nuts. Congratulations. But if you didn't pick up someone's phone call, if you never responded to their emails, if you never texted them back, you just were dead quiet the entire time, that's going to make them bitter. That's going to make them resent you. They're going to be in the house and go, wow, this is a great house. But that guy fucking sucked. He never answered my phone calls. I didn't even know he existed. Customer service should be number one above all else. Because like the bad food, people will let go of certain things. A B+ menu, an A- menu, if the service is 100%. Think of the areas in your business that you can grow from with your customer service. What are the things that should be done immediately? What's your customer service elements? Come up with your 5 things that no matter what, this is what your team has to do. This is our customer service. Your standards, your checklist, your side work. Everyone's pooling those tips. We're all working together. So maybe there's a bonus on the project. At the end of this project, we have a $10,000 bonus. And everybody involved is going to get a portion of this. Maybe it's a $1,000 bonus. And each one of you guys is going to get $200 on this remodel. But only if everybody pulls their weight. If everybody doesn't pull their weight, no, there's no bonus. So it's a collective effort. Because that way I'm showing up at the job site. I'm like, hey, Derek, what the heck, man? Like, dude, I emptied the dumpster last week. I did this. You haven't done that this week. We're not going to get our bonus. Let's go. Versus if there is no bonus and everyone's just moving around, like I'm going to be just resent Derek. I'm like, Derek never does his work. Derek sucks. Like Derek's not doing his job. And we're getting paid the same salary. But if there's a collective effort in the end, whatever you come up with, that's how you're going to breed it. So breeding that culture of teamwork is big. And you do that through offering incentives where everybody is collectively involved in it. Running a business is not easy. It's really not. But as I mentioned in the beginning, my mentor said, the fundamentals of business do not change. And a fundamental of business is customer service, plain and simple. And then the product's got to be good. The food has to taste good. The house has to be built with quality. Those are the fundamentals of business. And you build around that. So if I were to build a restaurant, those are the exact elements I would do based on my 20 years experience working with businesses that are making millions of dollars a year, watching businesses that have failed, watching businesses that have succeeded, watching businesses that have been around for 40 years. If a business has been around for 40 years, they are doing things right. And it's my nature to take notice to what is going on to make those things go right. That's how I'd build a restaurant. That's how I'd build any business. I'd start with customer service number one. Kind of lost my steam on this one. That's all I got. My LLC today is go start a restaurant. Come on. Just start a restaurant. That's what you should do. That's my lesson learned today. We should all quit our jobs and go start a restaurant. Yeah, that's my LLC. And don't forget, you got to stay tuned next week. Tiger Woods, Eldrick Tiger Woods, 15-time major champion. Tiger Woods is going to be on the podcast. I can't believe I'm saying it. It's like it's just a dream come true. It really is. I'm humbled. I can't believe that he's coming on my podcast, the first podcast he's ever done. You know what I think it is? I think it's now that I have this video camera, I got these nice lights, I got this neon sign. The background's really, I mean, let's be real, it's really badass. And I think that's the main draw for Tiger. I mean, he was coming, but now he's really coming. So check it out. Please rate and review this. I can't ask you enough. Like I said, come on, guys. I'm seeing how many people are watching these episodes. I'm seeing those numbers, and that number ain't adding up to how many reviews I got. If you're listening to this and you've listened to multiple of these episodes, and you made it this far in this episode, and you haven't reviewed this, come on, dogs. Let's go. Help me out. Get that algorithm moving. I'd really appreciate it. I love you guys. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.